As we examine the creatures that God have created, we begin to see different attributes that these creatures have that reflect different parts of our experiences in life. And I would like to speak about one young lady that has been through all sorts of hardship, realizing after what she went through, that everything that she went through was a part of God molding her to become an eagle. She became an eagle simply because now she finds herself isolated from other people, not because she's inferior, but because God had made her more than what she was. But she had to go through pain, and she had to go through trials, and she had to go through circumstances. And many of her peers say, wow, you've made such wonderful progress in your life. But as she ponders what they say, she says, I've made progress by the grace of God, but you don't know what I had to walk through to become who God has made me today. One thing about eagles is they don't fly in packs, but the sacrifice that the eagle has to make for being what it is being alone, flying high above the clouds and seeing things that other birds do not see, like unto geese and sparrows and pigeons and chickens that fly in packs. The eagle reigns supreme above all other birds in that it flies alone. So we say to this sister, march forward and be everything that God has purposed for you to be, for you are an eagle.
Hello, and thank you for joining us in Person to Person. Today's guest is a woman who is a recovering drug addict. She grew up on the south end of Stanford. That is where the drug addiction began. In 1975, she moved to 54 Adams Avenue. Her drug use continued on a larger scale. She's a minister, substance abuse counselor, daycare provider, and executive administrative assistant. She oversees the recovery group called Will You Be Made Whole? Now I would like for you to meet our guest today, Thiings Hill. Hi, Thais.
Hi, how you doing?
You have been fighting for your life since you were born. Can you tell us about it?
Well, what I can recall is what my mother told me, that as an infant that I had to go in the hospital for emergency surgery. You can see the scar right here. I had an obstruction in the air passage, so they had to do an emergency tracheotomy. And my mom also was telling me during that time, when she shared about the scar, that the doctors also said that I would not live to see my teens. But I'm here to report that I'm still alive, and I'm 54.
In your testimony that you shared, you said that someone at the children's playground at the age of 9 offered you heroin, so you start that use of that substance at that age. We're going to take a look of that right now.
Okay. When I was young, the rape started when I was like 5, 4, and they continued on. And you know, I can't tell the age when they stopped because I don't remember. Because at 9, something that took the place of feeling, and that was heroin. I began to sniff heroin at the age of 9. I began to drink. Liquor was in the house. Not that my mother was no drunk or anything, but socially she would have parties, so I began to drink. So I would, you know, go in the little liquor bottles and drink. But heroin, I started off with the heavy drug at an early age.
How many years you were addicted to drugs?
24 years. I shot drugs and I kept on getting high until I think I was in my 30s. How did I stop? It wasn't like on my own, and I'm just gonna be candid. I was on my way to Boost. I was on my way to steal for one of the biggest stores, you know, that we had, a well-named brand store. And I was on my way, and I had an encounter with God. And that was the beginning of my deliverance. That was the beginning of my turnaround. And it was a swift turnaround. It was a quick turnaround. The encounter, I can't explain, and I know what God did for me. It just, like, it was a lot that took place. You know, for time's sake, I'll just leave it alone, but if you want to know, You come see me, call me, and I'll let you know the rest of it. But I had an encounter with God. God, I thank you. It was like this, like he called my name. It's like he called my name. He said, Titus, come on. It's over. And the voice was so strange, but the voice was so calming that I had to listen to it.
All right, who do you turn to and how long did it take?
Well, just as we just seen on the tape, as far as the encounter, I went, I went to church, but also I also went to AA as well. But one thing I do remember, it was the church, the warmth and the comfort of the mothers in the church that, that drew me and kept me to stay within the house of God. When I was in AA, it was like I was there, but it was like a cold, and no disrespect to AA, whatever works, but it just didn't work for me. So I just hung around the mothers, and I needed that love, I needed that comfort, and I needed that, that protection at that time in my life. And it took a while, and today, I'm not struggling, but I do remember and I don't forget.
Would You Be Made Whole support group? And we first started that a few years back, not good with timelines, but a few years back. And it was first just the people that were using, or the people that had used and now stopped, and we would gather. But then, in which I'm the facilitator of all the outreach and all the ministries that's up under outreach, and so we had some wives, and they were coming with their husbands, and really, we used to say the substance abuse ministry. That's what we used to call it. But one of the wives was like, and she works extensively with me. And she's like the person I go and I'll pour my, I need to do this, I need to do that. And she'll put it together for me. She'll filter it. And she was like, okay. So I kind of turned that part of the ministry over to her. And that's when it came where it was, now, would you be made whole? Because the wives or the husbands or the sisters, the brothers, the family, period. The drug addiction don't affect just one person. It affects everybody that's involved. So everybody can come in and get healed. And see, we are open, and it's a Christian background. It's a Christian format where we speak Jesus. We speak about what God can do. And then, and with all of that, there's the love, there's the comfort, there's the patience. You gotta be patient. He might still be getting high, but you gotta be patient. She might still be smoking poppy or marijuana. Just be patient with that daughter. Be patient. They don't know why, but as they keep growing and we keep coming together and supporting and loving and comforting one another, we're gonna find out why we have these habits. Now, medically and naturally, I did go to school for counseling, so I understand the biological part of it, and which I didn't before. But I understand the biological part of it. But I do have to say God can do anything.
We know you have a son and a daughter, and we want to take a look what you have to say about them.
Oh, ties, then sings your soul, sing to the Savior.
I neglected my mom raised my kids. And I'll be right back. I'm going to the store. They don't see me for a week or so. They see me come in. They see the way I look, see the way I smell. But they love me unconditionally, but I neglected my kids. My son really got the brunt of my drug addiction, and I used to keep him with me all the time during that time, so he'd been in New York in the galleries, you know what I'm saying? And his father would get high. He's not in the crib, but he's in the carriage, while we sitting there shooting dope, Then my sister, she would come and get my son and take him home, and I'd be like, "Where's my baby?" Because I'm out hustling, trying to get money, you know. So I kind of like, oh, if you guys keep come getting them, y'all keep them then, you know. But I love my kids. My daughter, she didn't get it not as bad. One thing we were talking about before, my mom, I was gonna take my daughter, and my mom said no. She said, if you're gonna take one, you take both of them, you know. And I thank God she did that, because it stopped the process of my son hating me. Now, he might have been bitter, but he didn't hate me. So, but we have an excellent relationship, a loving relationship. That's my baby. I love my son, I love my daughter, I love my I got 7 grandkids.
Oh, nice. We interviewed your son about his upbringing. Here's what he had to say about it.
My childhood growing up, it was pretty rough. It was also filled with a lot of joy, a lot of pain. I seen a lot of things. I experienced things that were good and bad, you know, and it taught me today to appreciate the things that I couldn't have, or, you know, my parents couldn't afford. I try to do as much now for mines that I couldn't have. But at the same time, the family was very well, strongly family orientated. You know, we grew up under my grandmother, which is Thiings, is my mom's mom. Her name was Willamay Ingram, and she raised all of us. My mom was in the picture a lot. She was in the picture a lot, I remember. And she says to me, though, that she was gone a lot, and, you know, she used to run the streets, stuff like that. I remember her being out a lot, you know, stuff like that, but I really didn't know what was going on.
You went to college and recently graduated. Can you tell us about your career?
Okay, yes. I started here at NCC in early childhood education. Working didn't permit me to finish my student teaching, and then I ended up getting laid off a few years later, and I got a strong urge to do something different, and that was drug and alcohol recovery counseling. And so I just graduated in May. But I believe without a doubt that the early childhood education, as well as the counseling, the substance abuse counseling, will come together as one, where I'll be able to meet the needs of the children that are at risk, as well as helping the parents to come out to understand what their addiction is all about and come out. Just, would you be made whole?
I would like to thank our guest, Thiings Hill, for joining us today. Thank you, Thiings.
Thank you for having me. This has been a great experience.
Oh, Thiings, then sings your soul. Sing to the Savior, my Savior God, to these. Oh, how great thou art. Out of your soul, Thiings, say, Lord, Lord, you're so great, yeah.